Good morning, class and professor. My name is Daniela.
My name is Karina. Did you know that the Russian Federal Space Agency states that 40% of the space debris is produced by China? The United States share accounts for 27% and Russia 25%, with 7% falling on other countries involved in space exploration.
As you know, there are many kinds of pollution. For example, water pollution, air pollution, sound pollution, but the most recently kind of pollution is space pollution.
Thus, today we're going to explain to you what space pollution is, the causes, consequences, and solutions for space pollution. In order to get started on our research, let's define space pollution.
Okay, space pollution can also be called as space debris, space waste, or space junk. Space pollution is the collection of objects in an orbit around the Earth. This debris is man-made, but is no longer used for any purpose. They are just flying or floating around Earth, but they are not doing something. Some scientists believe that they can restart them or they can fix them by adding fuel, but it would be really expensive to do that. That's why NASA decided just to leave it there and not do anything with those pieces of debris. The debris around the Earth has become an important environmental problem. It's not that bad yet now, but it can become worse in some years later. And space debris got its start in the 28th century at the very beginning of the space race. Also, one scientist of NASA said the current space is growing increasingly hazardous to spacecrafts and astronauts. There are several types of debris. The first one is defunct spacecraft, such as satellites that are not usable anymore. And the second one is spent rocket bodies that were used to launch satellites into orbit. And the last one is small fragments caused by collisions and explosions for the pieces of debris that are around Earth. Now that you know about space pollution, you should know about the causes of the space pollution.
According to the article How Space Junk Works, there are many types of objects in the space that cause space pollution. For instance, when spaceships or parts of it no longer work, they are left to float around space indefinitely. As my partner said, it is usually too expensive to retrieve these objects from space, so they are left there to circle the Earth until they fall back down or collide with other space debris. Another aspect that contributes with this problem is that some space shuttles use solid rocket fuel for propulsion, as you can see in this image. As a consequence of this, after launches, some fuel can be left over and will float around in whatever container in which it will float up. This poses a great risk for collisions because it only creates more space debris after an explosion. And as more collisions create more pieces of garbage, the problem goes exponentially. You now know which the causes of space pollution are. Our third point is consequences of space pollution.
Okay, as the technology is increasing, the space pollution is increasing too, and there are many scientists that are upset and they're angry because they have to modify plans and reinvent spacecraft because of the high average of the speed of the pieces of debris that can severely damage or destroy spacecrafts and satellites. And that's why space pollution is affecting space missions. And not only that, it's affecting how they place satellites into orbits because of the pieces of debris. there is no safe place to place a satellite, so it would affect our modern life because we need satellites for TV, internet, radio. So space pollution is affecting the satellites. Where do you place satellites? Scientists should think about space as an infinite and as a natural resource. Hence, they must take care of it and make it everlasting. As you can see, space pollution is an alarming problem, so let's continue our presentation moving to our fourth point, that is solutions for space pollution.
The website popularmechanics.com says that no nation yet has a concrete plan for an orbital cleanup. However, spacecraft designers and scientists are trying to cope with this celestial pollution by adding shield to satellites, modifying equipment, reprogramming computers, and exploring ways to dodge debris. For example, new spacecraft are being designed with special armor to minimize the damage caused by space debris impact. And the European Space Agency has launched a program to carefully monitor space junk. They are also creating standards to prevent future collisions above the planet, hopefully reducing the amount of space debris in orbit. And NASA is exploring different ways for cleaning up both large and small debris. Now that you are familiar with the topic of space pollution, let's summarize our main points.
At this point, you should be able to understand what space pollution is, causes of space pollution, consequences of space pollution, and the solutions for space pollution.
The article from Universe Today states that NASA needs to choose the best strategy to stop the several problems caused by space debris that put human beings and robotic space operation at risk.
Also, another scientist from NASA, Jennifer Bergman, she said whether on Earth or in space, humanity recreates waste. Like Earth's environment, the space environment is getting more cluttered. And there are currently millions of man-made orbital rings that make up space junk. What is needed is a way to clean off all the space junk, but as ideas to doing that are increasing, the space pollution is increasing too.
Thank you.